We are going to go into our segment on overtime, where, as Pastor Dave said, we get to get practical with the message. For those of you that are new to Coastal Church, my name is James. I get to serve as a campus development pastor also at our Richmond campus, and here with Pastor Chris.
I'm Chris, and I am Family Life as well as North Shore campus. And a big shout out to everyone who is being baptized today. We're going to go down in a moment, and we have 8 from North Van being baptized as well as other campuses.
Yeah.
Excited for what God is doing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What good flex there. I only have 2 today, but it's all right. We're all one church. Hashtag one church. So, Pastor Chris, just reflecting on the message, we talked about how God needs to be the source of the blessed life, and we can all nod, but I find that at times, or maybe some of those who shared before, what was your life like before you met Jesus, that there were other sources. What would you say are some of these other sources that maybe you have turned to before finding God?
I thought that was so good, particularly the FQ father quotient. My father passed away when I was quite young, and so a lot of my teenage years was without my dad, and so I would go to other sources to go look for it, and whether it's friends, other people, and there was a particular group of friends that I got mixed up with when I lived in Winnipeg, and they just kept devolving. But I kept sticking with this group because they were kind of giving me what I was meant to get from my father, so to speak, and so trying to feel. So they were my source I was looking to. So I kept going that direction. And I'll never forget this. There's one moment where they had gone to. If you're from Winnipeg, you know where Portage Place Mall is, and we had gone to the mall, and they were going to go and shoplift. And so I came along, and they said, Chris, you stand outside. We're going to go inside. If a security person comes, your job is to let us know. And I remember standing there. I just got this feeling in my heart. I don't know, it was this fear. But I knew in my heart, if I continue with this, my life is going to go a whole different direction. There was just this sense that I got. And so I left. And they called me all kinds of names and swore at me and other things, and I left, and they got caught that time, and some of them went to juvie and other things, and their life was never recovered. And so that's the danger of looking to other things before looking to God, and so just the importance. And I think being at kids camp was awesome, seeing all those kids, but just lift their hands and say, God, I want more of you. Just reconnecting with the Heavenly Father. I thought that was so great.
Yeah, I think that's good, and I think all of you were touched by Maddie's story, just very briefly, and so encouraged, Maddie, that even as you shared that what you were looking for, the belonging and the sense of maybe not wanted, and yet finding the source of how our Heavenly Father who loves us. And I think that is so important. I personally have found, just as others here that were sharing, that they've placed their purpose, their source on their education, for example. I remember when those of you know that my transition was from working as an engineer for many years, and I found God at UBC as an engineering student. I went into the engineering work, and had the call when Pastor Dave came and talked to me, about 16 years ago. And I remember having a conversation, and before saying yes, actually, I think I already decided, but part of what was exposing my identity that was still in holding on to that, I asked Pastor Dave, and I said that, Pastor Dave, what a waste, though, wouldn't it be that all my engineering studies, that wouldn't be used? And of course, now in hindsight and in all of Pastor Dave's wisdom, who also has an engineering background, we love engineers and how Jesus can continue to use us. And when people ask, today, James, do you miss engineering? Are you kidding me? Do you know what we do other than just sit around worshiping the Lord for 15 hours a day? That's kind of what we do. But it's planning kids camp, how to logistically figuring out how do we bring 4 buses from different places, setting things up, and all that you see around us. And I love it. I love that I can bring that. So how once you find purpose, that God can redirect it. And in the notes, there were all these different effects. I love the Psalm 112. How many of you want to just read and meditate, and better yet, memorize that? Because some of the effects, some of the results that come out of it, what can you testify of that has been the result of placing God first and seeing a blessed life? Because you are blessed.
Yeah, and you know, I think I love that, Pastor Dave. Children shall be mighty on the earth, and I think that's for me is one of the biggest things. Is our kids are getting baptized today, 3 of them, and
Come
we're
on.
so excited about that. And and to see, yeah, to see what, and I know your daughters were baptized not too long ago, Pastor James, and seeing that, you know, seeing them take that step, you know, it goes back to God being your source, and seeing that, and you know, there's a verse, I think verse 4, light dawns in the darkness. I remember I would quote that, you know, something really practical that you can do, and maybe you're like, well, I can't maybe memorize a whole verse, or you know, maybe start with one verse and keep going. For me, light dawns and darkness was a great verse that I began to, you know, because I had issues in school, you know, school was not, I was not a top A student for a long time, and so I would go back to that verse and quote it, light dawns with wisdom. God, thank you for wisdom. Light dawns the darkness. And it's something practical, a practical thing you could do with that particular verse and seeing fruit come out of that as well.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I think what was, again, the few people, I think that Pastor Cheryl had up sharing, there was, I think Derek shared about how, you know, it was his back, you know, when we lose our physical ability, you know, maybe we put our trust, our source in that. What happens when that is gone? And I think Jonathan talked about purpose. And then, of course, and Maddie was sharing about where she was placing her identity in. And I can kind of think through personally for myself, all the different places to think, just even being insecure about how can God use me and where would He direct me. And I know that you come from a legacy, you know, like of pastors. And I didn't have any Christian in my family, you know, being raised, you know, in an Asian, Buddhist by culture, in a Muslim country. But yet that today, like you said, you know, that we would head on to the water and to see, be reminded of how God, I am blessed. Because, you know, kids, seeing my daughter lead worship today was amazing. And as she goes off, and you know, one of the blessings, right? And she just graduated in grade 12, so a lot of family and parents, and maybe this is speaking to you, you know, the angst, you know, the worry about where they're going to go, which school they're going to get in. And I love in verse 7, you know, and Psalm 112, that I am not afraid of bad news in the NIV. How many of you like that? You're not afraid of bad news because you're steadfast, right? Because when you're steadfast in the Lord, you're not afraid whether they get into this school or that school, because you know God has other plans. And in the end, this motto has always been, you know, for us, get our kids to love God, love us, love the church, you know, and that's it. And to say that my kids are doing Dad serving in kids camp, and I'm going in the water as well because Mom is here, and then my niece is getting baptized. She's heading off to university as well. And so, again, seeing God's blessing come to our household. So what would you say to encourage folks? So what's the best way to, again, stay steadfast in that, to find ways to put God as the source?
Well, I think of that verse that talks about how the promises are given to us so we can escape the corruption that is in the world because of sinful desire. And Pastor Dave mentioned a lot of things that are happening in our world today. Just know the promises.
Come on.
That's the biggest thing. Know the promises, meditate on the promise, memorize the promises. Just have them coming and quote them, speak them over your children. You know, as mentioned, my father passed away. One of the things he did for me was, and my mom did, was just speak words of life over me. And speak life over yourself as well. I think that's one of the most basic practical things you could take from this message. Just speak the promise, memorize, meditate on it, and you will begin to see those effects in your life.
That's amazing. Yeah. So we will end over time on that note, but the service is not ending for those that are here. Those of online, if you need prayer, stay on the chat. Let somebody on the host know. I'd love to pray for you. Those that are here and those that are heading down to the beach, you make your way down as soon as you can. But if you need prayer, just line up on the side or go to the side, and they will be our prayer team partners. So we want to pray for you, whether there's a need that you have, something that resonated with you, or perhaps you want to take that next step. Love to connect with you. Otherwise, thanks for being here tonight, and please join us tomorrow for a very special service with Pastor John O. God bless.
Thanks, you guys.